heal that ankle, come back stronger, even stronger next year. But for me, he's been one guy I've actually really been looking out to see what he's going to be doing on the park. So all in all, with the Lions, there's a lot that needs to be changed. But like I said, it needs to start at the top. Rudolph needs to make some tough decisions there and say, let's restructure if need be. He needs to say, let's restructure. He needs to put it out there that, we are looking. We haven't closed our doors to say we're going to try and mold what we have, because the team there is quite young. You can't almost bring in a very young coach, to come and bring up the young team as well. You need someone with experience, a coach with a lot of authority, to implement and put down into young players. So for me, I think, there's a lot they need to do. And like I said, it all boils down and starts with the coaching.
Sorry, Phila, I just wanted to jump in the fact that Toby mentioned something very important. When you look at the coaching, you look at someone's experience in terms of what they've done in their coaching, how far they've got, where they started. You have to look at, as much as Ivan is quite young in terms of in terms of his age, but this is his first head coaching gig at any provincial level. So your first provincial gig is already a Super Rugby team. That, for me, raises eyebrows massively, which is exactly why, as a coach, for me, my experience, as a coach, first thing you have to look at is the type of captain that you want to have in your team, the type of person that you look at. It's almost like someone who's going to be representing you, but on the field. So when we go to Elton, for example, just because he's got the most caps doesn't mean that he can be a captain. As any coach should know that, which is probably why Ivan's experience now came into place and let him down. Because I would have never made Elton a captain. Elton is a brilliant player, but he's not the kind of leader that is going to pull a Marna Skuman with 5 minutes to go and say, come, we need a turnover. He's not going to do that. He's going to be the guy who's going to be flashy, walking there, all bouncy, we're going to win this game. Like, he's going to be that. He's not the guy that he's going to go and grab players by the balls and say, come on, we need you now, step up, He's not going to do that. And for me, a captain is someone that can do that. If you remember John Smith, for example, those guys would have done anything for John Smith during his time. They would have killed anyone on their way for John Smith. And I think that's a similar mode with the Springboks. As much as Sia doesn't say much, but the fact that Sia is the one that he will get out there first, leading them.
His presence.
His presence. They know how important this man is in their lives. But then we look at the Lions, for example. What is Elton like to those players? I honestly don't think they see him as that kind.
No, fair enough. I mean, I think we need to be honest at basically what is currently happening at the Lions, and inexperience is basically counting against them heavily from the players to the coaching staff. And obviously, I mean, the defensive patterns or their defense, like what Toby mentioned, I mean, it's been dismal, to be honest, and hasn't been structured enough. Well, thanks very much, Toby. I mean, that was very insightful. Gentlemen, any last words, basically, concerning our Super Rugby teams, and how do you see them progressing? Do you see them doing better next year? Obviously, we won't have any Super Rugby this year. That's for sure. But next year, do we see the same type of attitude and performance from a team like the Sharks? Sisa, do we see the same kind of attitude and momentum with the team like the Stormers? And Small, your Blue Bulls, I mean, are they going to improve in 2021? With Toby, your Lions, are they going to improve as well? And in finding maybe a new captain, if that, a new coach to shake things up, like what Jake White is doing in Pretoria. I mean, your last parting shots, Jens. Sisa, we'll start off with you and we'll work in that order.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm worried about the Stormers. I've been hearing and reading a few things about players wanting to leave and go overseas, or overseas teams interested in certain players. And the biggest one is obviously Peter Steph du Toit. There's major interest for him. And obviously in these tough times, anything is possible. With regards to where they are currently, I'm happy with the team. I think John Dobson has done very well in terms of getting the team to play as a unit and also find a sort of identity that they can sort of work with going forward. But yeah, my sort of worries lie in the personnel going forward, the player personnel, that it might be very different in next year's season.
Fair enough. Vuyo?
No, for me, looking at everything in obviously in context and all the teams, I think the first step that we have to look forward to is the Currie Cup. We can only just pray that obviously everything is sort of clear and obviously with that we can be back into sport in September, October. I think the Currie Cup would be the first stop. It would be nice to see, and basically the fact that international rugby is almost cancelled, that means that all those Super Rugby players will play in the Currie Cup. So bringing back the old days back when you have the best players on the pitch. So I think that's where I'm looking forward to. I think if obviously to see the likes of the Sharks with the players that they use in the Super Rugby versus the Stormers that they use in the Super Rugby, that will be good again. And I think it's good for the people. I think it will be good TV to watch. So let's cross our fingers and hope that happens.
Fair enough, mate. Smooth.
There's a lot of changes going on here in Pretoria. Look, next week we might be talking something else altogether.
Yeah, headlines, Pretoria.
There's a lot of moving parts. You wouldn't say we're in a lockdown, guys, here, because the movement here is high. But I'm excited for the Bulls. The fact that they have a coach with gravitas, for me, it starts there. Toby mentioned the Lions' problems. Fish rots from the head. It starts there. I wanted sorry to divert a little bit.
No worries.
Toby, the Lions. What makes it difficult for a franchise or a union like the Lions to look at someone like Jonathan Mokoena, who played for the union, who was successful as a coach at Leopards and Pekka. At Leopards and Pekka, and is definitely in the market, speaks the language. He's like a Lions man. What makes it difficult for them to look at him, even if he's an understudy to a bigger name, with the view of taking over? Like, why is it obvious to us looking in, but not from the people inside looking out?
Yeah, and the thing is, Jonathan was there, I think, in his first couple of years when he stopped playing. He actually started at the Lions.
Yeah. I remember, yeah.
So he was there for a little while. So I'm not sure where the issues could be there, because, he is someone that the Lions should have a look at. I think we actually mentioned it earlier that maybe Rudolph could be the problem for someone like Jonathan, because he's trying to get players, or maybe coaches that he can bully and talk them into doing things that he wants to be done at the union. Jonathan is not that type of coach. Jonathan is quite a hothead, He's the type of coach that will actually fight back with someone like, with any CEO, where he'll want things done in his terms. He's not a puppet type of coach. And perhaps that's what Rudolph is looking at getting into the Lions. Perhaps so that's where the problems could be.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no. That was my only sort of feedback that I wanted from the Lions. But the Bulls, it's gonna be a new team. So 2011 was really the peak that you were getting from Josh Strauss, and bringing him back 9 years later isn't necessarily a better player than he was when he was at the Lions in 2011. I'm not against a profile kind of player. If you want a big ball carrying back rower, There's nothing wrong with that. It's rugby at the end of the day. Bring back Ron Ackerman. He's a year off from qualifying to play for England, I think now. Why not go to the SA Rugby offices and say, look, meet me halfway money-wise, and let's bring this guy back. And he's going to be like competing for the number 8 jersey with Skhumbuzo Noche once we move on from Dwayne Vermeulen. It makes sense rather than pretending as if he doesn't exist just because he's playing at Gloucester with his dad as coach there. We can't turn a blind eye to those potential players that could come back. That's the kind of player the Bulls should be having. And he was phenomenal for Gloucester in the last few years that he's been there. So that for me, smart acquisitions. I know Jake has a blank canvas and a blank check. I just hope the acquisitions are very, very smart. Oh yeah, and Sintu Manjezi, by the way, it seems like the deal is close for him to come to Victoria. So
great. That's fantastic news. Fantastic news. Toby, Lions parting shot.
Yeah, I think I'd love to see the movement that's happening in Pretoria, same as in Joburg. Seeing a lot of, coaches coming in, coaches going out, perhaps getting a director of rugby in and then someone who can sort a lot of things out from there. But I'm sure, like Smu has said, Jake has a blank check there to do what he pleases. And the Lions, that could be, where the problem is currently, where they can't just buy left, right, and center. But they've also shot themselves in the foot in the past when they had almost a blank check when Gumeria was there, but they didn't give him, a lot of room to do anything. They just did their own thing and basically pushed him out. So those could be the issues of anyone else trying to come in when it comes to investing with the Lions. But like I said, I'd like to see a lot of movement with the Lions, getting new blood in, getting new coaching staff in. Like I said, for me, that's where the key is currently, just shaking things up at the top. They can rebuild now. They've got new blood. I think people can be patient perhaps for another 2 to 3 years if there's a coach with authority, that comes in. I'm not saying 2 to 3 years staying at number 14 of the log. It means you gradually make, progress to where we can see the team has moved from 14 to 8, that's progress. Whereas if you're saying you're building, but nothing's changing, a lot of people are going to get impatient. Players are going to want to leave. So there's a lot of things that the Lions need to sort out. So for next year, I don't see anything changing much from a growth perspective of the Lions. For me, teams like the Sharks it's going to be interesting and exciting to see where they can go from this year to next year. The Stormers have been playing it very safe this year. I think for them as well, if they could loosen up a bit, they could be a force to reckon with. Bulls have shaken things up. They're shaking things up. So there's a lot we can see from the Bulls next year. So like I said, I'm just hoping that the Lions could go the same route of shaking things up, changing things around, and almost look forward, to seeing what they can do in the next 2 to 3 years. Next year, I don't see anything happening. That's why I'm saying next 2 to 3 years. But yeah.
Fair. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for taking time out and joining me on the Sports Interval. This show was brought to you by MAT Consulting. Visit www.mat.co.za. Don't forget to keep healthy and staying indoors and respecting the rules that have been put in place by the government. Need to look after yourselves and look after your community. It's very important. So let's just follow the rules that have been put in place by the government. And gentlemen, once again, cannot thank you enough for sharing your insights, for sharing your knowledge. Good things are looking up for South African rugby, especially after winning the World Cup. We've got very good, two strong sides in the Sharks and the Stormers, and we're hopeful that this momentum will carry over into 2021, where we need our strongest sides performing well at Super Rugby, so that we can have a strong side to perform against the British and Irish Lions. I'm pretty sure that Rassie Erasmus and Ninabe will definitely be working hard in trying to